Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we unpack a truly extraordinary story, giving you a rare glimpse into a world most of us will never see. We're focusing on Oh HESON, a North Korean defector from an elite partisan family. Okay, let's unpack this a bit. Imagine growing up right at the very top of North Korea's rigid social ladder. On the surface, life looks privileged. You've got special access, comforts most citizens couldn't even dream of, but as we'll see, it cometh wrapped in layers of fear, constant loyalty checks, and propaganda that's, well, thicker than kimchi stew. Her story really gives a rare glimpse into what it's like to be part of the regime's inner circle, and then to walk away from it all.
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how the source material, this unique Japanese TV interview, it just peels back the curtain. You see the subtle and sometimes not so subtle pressures even at those highest levels.
Yeah.
It really challenges common assumptions about life for North Korea's elite, It reveals this golden cage designed to control and, frankly, instill terror. We'll explore the shocking reality of power, the unexpected allure of the outside world, and ultimately, the desperate, courageous decision to seek freedom.
Exactly. This isn't just another defection story. It's like an intimate portrait of a life lived under the absolute highest stakes, and it's all derived from this truly unprecedented interview. So let's start at the beginning. Who exactly are these partisan families? What does it actually mean to be part of this super elite class in North Korea? It sounds like a world unto itself.
Right. Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the partisan families are basically North Korea's version of royalty, or like inherited nobility. They're the direct descendants or relatives of those who fought alongside Kim Il-sung against Japanese colonial rule back in the 1930s and 40s. Oh HESON's lineage, it traces directly to this group. Her great-uncle fought right alongside Kim Il-sung himself. He eventually rose to 5th place in the entire North Korean hierarchy. Think about that.
Wow, 5th place. That's incredibly high up.
Incredibly. And her father, he held a really significant position too, president of Kim Il-sung University of Political Science. So, these are deep-rooted connections to the Kim dynasty. It basically promised a life of extraordinary privilege right from birth.
And what did that privilege actually look like day to day? For a child growing up in Pyongyang, a city where we know basic necessities are often scarce for so many, can you paint a picture?
Oh, HESON talks about it quite vividly. She recalls thinking she was a special child, and in many ways she was. While ordinary citizens, even in the capital, were struggling immensely, facing severe food shortages. Scarcity of everything, her family received proper, consistent food rationing. And this wasn't just a little extra bit. It meant monthly allocations of fresh meat, cooking oil, snacks, things that were just completely unobtainable for most people.
Things we take for granted.
Totally. She lived in a large, well-maintained house. They had access to a private car, always ate better food, wore clothes of far superior quality. It really instilled in her this deep, almost ingrained belief that their family had a sort of special relationship with the Kim family, and that unwavering loyalty to the regime wasn't just expected, it was her destiny.
So a childhood of material comfort, this ingrained sense of destiny. You call it a golden cage. It clearly had these terrifying invisible bars, didn't it?
Right.
What were the psychological pressures, the hidden terrors of that elite life?
Absolutely. That privilege came hand in hand with this inherent constant terror. She went to the Pyongyang Foreign Language Institute, a school exclusively for the kids of other top elites. So she's surrounded by North Korea's future leaders, right? She remembers classmates openly bragging about getting direct gifts from Kim Jong-il, showing off their family's close times.
Right, status symbols.
Exactly. But alongside those displays, she witnessed this terrifying reality. Classmates whose fathers were really high-ranking officials, like a vice chair, basically number 2 in a ministry, they would just suddenly disappear. Whole families vanished overnight because of political purges.
Yeah, that's chilling.
It is. And these weren't isolated incidents. Purges are a core, brutal tool of control there. They instill fear, eliminate threats, maintain absolute loyalty, often hitting whole families through guilt by association. So this experience, it taught Oh HESON the horror of power firsthand. It instilled this deep, paralyzing fear that her own family, regardless of their status, could be next.
That sounds absolutely terrifying. And it must have fundamentally altered how she saw her own future. So what did this mean for her personal choices, specifically regarding marriage?
Well, seeing that sheer brutality, the unpredictability of the system, it really raised a critical question for her, and it shaped a monumental decision in her youth. The source mentions that seeing these disappearances, understanding how arbitrary state power was, it led her to make this deliberate, almost strategic choice. If she were to marry, it had to be someone from the common class.
To distance herself.
Exactly. Her rationale was chillingly practical. She wanted to avoid the huge risk of being purged just through association with the elite, with all the shifting political currents and dangers, so she consciously, deliberately chose not to date or even consider marrying the sons of other top officials.
So she graduates from university, and in 1989 she follows through. She marries Tae-yeon-ho, a foreign ministry official, but someone from the common class. How did this marriage, this shift in her sort of social sphere, impact her understanding of North Korean society, especially the struggles of everyday people?
Well, this decision, while it was calculated to protect her from one danger, the purges it inadvertently threw her headfirst into a completely new, harsh reality she'd never known: systemic hunger and poverty. Things that define daily life for most North Koreans, but were totally foreign to her. Remember, she grew up with plenty of food, eating whatever she wanted whenever. But after marriage, suddenly, getting basics like fresh fruit or meat or even simple snacks became incredibly difficult. Almost impossible sometimes.
A huge shock to the system, I imagine.
A massive shock. It was such a stark, jarring contrast to her upbringing. A daily reminder of the vast, almost unimaginable gap in quality of life between the classes. A gap that had been completely invisible to her before. It shattered any illusion she might have had about how the general population lived.
And it wasn't just about food shortages, right? There was a really heartbreaking incident involving her son's health that drove home just how different things were systemically.
Yes, a profoundly impactful, deeply personal event. Shortly after her eldest son was born, he was diagnosed with this rare, severe kidney disease, and this moment just starkly underscored that class divide. As a child, remember, Oh HESON had access to special hospitals for senior officials, places with sincere doctors, dedicated staff, abundant medicine.
The best care available.
Right. But now, married into the common class, she was faced with the grim, dilapidated conditions of the regular hospitals. Facilities plagued by shortages of everything: medicine, equipment, even competent medical staff. She just despaired. She realized they simply couldn't cure her son within this broken system.
How desperate must she have felt?
Utterly. It led to these desperate, almost superstitious measures, seeking out unverified remedies like deerskin jelly, or even visiting a woman who claimed she could channel spirits, claiming to have received the descent of God. Just highlighting the total lack of reliable medical care, it really makes you ask, doesn't it? What does a society's healthcare system, especially its disparities, reveal about its priorities, its value for its people?
It showed her a society that protected its elite and left everyone else to fend for themselves, even in life or death situations.
Precisely.
So in the midst of this incredibly tough life, this constant struggle and fear, the source material says she found this unexpected anchor, a secret escape. And here's where it gets really surprising. South Korean dramas. How on earth did she even get access to them, given how strict everything is there?
It's fascinating, the audacity and the lengths she went to. Accessing South Korean media is, as you say, strictly forbidden. Massive penalties. Yet she managed to get hold of a USB memory stick. And this wasn't easy. She got it through an acquaintance returning from an overseas business trip. Smuggled in, most likely. And on the stick, popular dramas like Autumn in My Heart, Love Story in Harvard, Lovers in Paris, Full House.
All the big hits at the time.
Yeah, and the risk of watching them was immense. If they were discovered, it could mean forced labor for the whole family, or even worse. But she took that risk.
So she knew the danger, but it was clearly worth it for her. What did these dramas offer? Was it just pure entertainment or something deeper?
She describes it as an addiction, a powerful, almost desperate need. For those precious hours she spent watching, the dramas let her forget about the unfortunate life in North Korea. She said she genuinely felt happy during those moments, a feeling probably pretty rare in her daily life. The first one she watched, Winter Sonata, starring Bae Young-joon and Choi Ji-woo, that wasn't just big in South Korea, it was a global phenomenon. It basically sparked the Korean waves in Japan. But for Oh HESON, it wasn't just the love story or the scenery that grabbed her, it was something more profound.
That's significant. So beyond the plot, what was it about Winter Sonata and the others that left such a deep, maybe even dangerous impression on her worldview?
Well, the dramas gave her this undeniable glimpse into an alternative reality. She realized with stunning clarity that South Korea was very developed, technologically advanced, a completely different world from hers. But it wasn't just the material wealth that struck her, it was the spirit of the people she saw on screen. While North Korea relentlessly demanded loyalty and obedience above all else, the people in these dramas seemed strikingly free and happy.
That must have been a powerful concept.
Hugely powerful. It exposed her to this whole different societal paradigm where personal freedom, individual choice, expressing joy, these things seemed paramount. It was a stark contrast to the rigid, controlled existence she knew. Like planting a potent seed of discontent right in her mind.
And this daily forbidden habit almost cost her absolutely everything one night. Tell us about that moment the police came knocking.
Oh, it was a terrifyingly close call, a stark reminder of the constant danger. One night, Oh HESON was out. Her sons unknowingly opened the door to the Public Morals Crackdown Unit. This is North Korea's internal security force, right? Tasked specifically with enforcing ideological purity, cracking down on deviant behavior like watching foreign media. The source says they just broke in, conducted this thorough destructive search, left the house in a complete mess, and horrifyingly, they found the USB stick plugged into her computer.
Oh my God.
Yeah. If discovered like that, the punishment would have been severe. Forced labor, imprisonment for the whole family. But, incredibly, a senior officer from that crackdown unit who happened to be an acquaintance of hers heard her frantic SOS call and rushed over. He somehow managed to intervene, smooth things over, resolve the situation safely, probably used his position, maybe called on the family's old status. It was a harrowing escape. And understandably, after that, she stopped watching the dramas. She felt it would be a bad example for her sons, realizing the immense risks she was putting them all under.
Okay, so a major turning point then comes in 2013. Her husband gets posted to the North Korean embassy in London. This is actually their second time living there, right? They've been in London years before, back in 2004. How is this second posting different? What had changed?
The source highlights a really significant and terrifying shift under Kim Jong-un. Surveillance had become even stricter, more pervasive, utterly suffocating. Life at the embassy became consumed by this omnipresent fear, not just fear of the state, but fear of each other. Embassy staff were actively watching and reporting on their colleagues. It created this atmosphere of intense paranoia and distrust.
Spying on each other.
Exactly. Oh, HESON recounts this chilling incident where one staff member, probably doing similar things themselves, reported a colleague specifically for watching Korean dramas. This betrayal, it just fundamentally shattered any sense of security or camaraderie she might have felt. It made her feel the world was painful and scary. A really profound shift from maybe a more naive view she held during their first posting. The danger felt internal now, too.
It sounds like this pervasive fear, the constant surveillance, the betrayal. It pushed her towards an irreversible decision about their future.
It really raises that question, doesn't it? What's the breaking point under that kind of pressure? For Oh HESON, the choice became crystal clear. I decided that I must not let my children return to North Korea. She'd watched them experience a taste of freedom in London, see how a normal society worked, and she firmly believed that once her children truly understood freedom, once they realized how unjust their own society was, they would inevitably rebel. There was just no viable future for them back home, no hope for a life they could choose themselves. She'd actually been discussing defection with her husband for some time, but it was an agonizing, life-altering decision. The risks, the costs, unimaginable.
So what was the final straw? The definitive catalyst that solidified this desperate choice for the whole family?
The absolute tipping point came in 2016. They received an official notice from Pyongyang. The order was, return your eldest son to North Korea.
Wow. Basically demanding him back as a hostage.
Essentially, yes. A way to ensure the family's loyalty and eventual return. Faced with this direct threat to her children's future, her husband asked her point blank, was she serious about wanting to defect? And crucially, would she regret it later? She said her mother's face flashed in her mind the agony of leaving her behind. But Oh HESON was resolute. She knew if they obeyed, if they took their children back, those kids would eventually realize what they'd lost and would hate her for it. She told her husband her decision was firm, unwavering. And with that, he finally agreed. They were going to do it.
An absolutely astonishing moment. To agree to something so perilous, how did they even plan it? Under that intense scrutiny within the embassy.
The source reveals this really fascinating, almost ingenious detail about their planning. They discuss the defection during daily, hour-long walks before dinner.
Outside, to avoid bugs.
Exactly. Outdoors, in a park, or somewhere open, specifically to protect against any possibility of wiretapping inside the embassy or their apartment. It was during one of these walks that her husband eventually told their children about the decision, the gravity of it. Her eldest son, apparently, when he heard, just thanked his father. He understood the sacrifice, the hope behind it. The defection itself happened in August 2016. They created this cover story, lied to the ambassador, saying they were just going to the pub with my children to watch soccer.
Just a normal family outing.
Seemingly innocent, yeah. And then they just left, walked away.
HESON felt immense sadness, knowing she'd likely never see her mother again. But she held firm to the belief that this was the right path for her children. For obvious security reasons, the specific, intricate details of the escape itself, well, they remain undisclosed.
So they successfully defected to South Korea, a massive event. What was the immediate reaction, both from South Korea welcoming them and from North Korea, which must have seen this as a huge betrayal? Well, in South Korea, the Ministry of Unification quickly confirmed it. They publicly called Tae Yonho and his family the highest-ranking North Korean diplomats to have defected so far. It made global headlines instantly, a huge symbol of discontent right from the top levels of the regime. North Korea, though, reacted with predictable fury, absolute vitriol. They launched this immediate, brutal propaganda campaign, called the family human scum worse than dogs, just trying to utterly dehumanize them.
Horrible.
And chillingly, they even released this video. It showed an acquaintance of Tae Yonho's, clearly coerced, denouncing him, calling him not really a human being. It just highlights the severe repercussions defectors face, especially high-profile ones.
And then, maybe the most heartbreaking part of it all, the impact on Oh HESON's mother, still trapped back in North Korea. That must have been incredibly painful.
Agonizing. An enduring consequence. Oh HESON later saw a video of her mother, clearly interviewed under duress by Chinese media. Her mother was forced to publicly question why Oh HESON would do such a thing, suggesting she'd now be alone, without family in South Korea, and in this truly gut-wrenching moment, her mother was even made to say that Oh HESON's father, if he were alive, would have shot and killed you.
Unbelievable. Forced to say that about her own daughter.
Oh HESON knows deep down her mother was completely coerced, controlled by the government, forced to read a script designed purely to shame and condemn. She carries this immense guilt, feeling like a guilty daughter for the suffering she knows her mother is enduring because of her choice. It just profoundly highlights the immense human cost of defection. It ripples outwards, ensnaring whole families. And Oh HESON has explicitly said she believes Kim Jong-un is far more dictatorial and cruel than his grandfather Kim Il-sung and his father Kim Jong-il. Underscoring the worsening conditions that drove them to flee. It's been, 7 years now since her defection? And the weight of that choice, its repercussions, it clearly remains.
This deep dive into Oh HESON's extraordinary story, it really does peel back the curtain on such a complex, often terrifying world. From that perceived luxury of an elite partisan family, all the way to the ultimate courageous act of defiance and seeking freedom. Her insights are just truly unique. A rare window.
It really powerfully underscores that even privilege within a totalitarian system like that comes at this immense, crippling price. The erosion of trust, constant pervasive fear, and that forced, agonizing choice between loyalty to your family or loyalty to a brutal regime. Her story really stands as a testament, I think, to the universal human yearning for freedom.
If you enjoy insights that peel back the curtain on places most of us will never get to see, definitely hit that subscribe button. And a big shout out to our producer, FireflyHaku, who digs up stories so rare they'd make even secret police jealous. Grateful for your ears, spread the word, and join us again soon.